The great council chamber stretched wide like a metal ocean. Hundreds of alien beings sat in curved rows that rose high toward the ceiling. Their different shapes and colors made the room look like a rainbow made of living creatures. Some had scales that shone like mirrors. Others had fur that moved in colors. A few floated in tanks of strange liquid. Ambassador Kim Min-jun stood alone at the center. His simple black suit looked plain next to all the bright aliens around him. He held a small device in his hands. His face stayed calm, but his heart beat fast. Speaker HFY rose from the highest seat. His reptile body was twice as tall as Kim. His scales were deep purple with gold edges. When he spoke, his voice filled the whole chamber like thunder. "Today we decide about the humans," HFY said. His long tongue tasted the air. "Should these creatures join our great council? Should we let them into civilized space?" A tall blue alien stood up. Her 4 arms moved as she spoke. "I have studied the humans for many cycles. They are violent and emotional. Look at their history." The giant screens around the chamber lit up. They showed human wars, soldiers fighting and dying, cities burning, people crying over dead bodies. The aliens watched and made soft sounds of disgust. "See how they kill each other," the blue alien continued. "They fight over resources they could share. They destroy their own planet for profit." Another alien spoke. This one looked like a giant insect with crystal wings. "They cannot control their feelings. Watch this." New images played, humans shouting in anger, children crying, adults weeping at funerals. A mother screaming when her baby was hurt. The aliens began to laugh. It was a strange sound. Some chirped like birds. Others made deep, rumbling noises. A few clicked their teeth together. "Such weak minds," said a floating creature covered in tentacles. "They let emotions rule their choices. How can they make wise decisions?" Kim stepped forward. "Honored council members, those images do not show the full truth about humanity." "Silence," HFY commanded. "We have more evidence." The screens showed human sports. Fans cheering and crying when their teams won or lost. They showed humans at concerts, dancing and singing with wild joy. "Look how they waste energy on meaningless activities," laughed a creature that looked like a walking tree. "They gather in huge groups just to watch others play games. And they make noise for no reason," added an alien with too many eyes. "They sing and dance when they should work and think." More laughter filled the chamber. Kim felt his face grow hot, but he kept his voice steady. "These things you call weaknesses are actually strengths," Kim said. "Our emotions help us care for others. Our passion drives us to achieve great things." "Achieve what?" HFY demanded. "You have not even solved war on your own world. You still have hunger and disease. Your technology is centuries behind ours." The screens showed more images. Humans arguing in their governments. Protesters in the streets. Poor people living in bad conditions, while rich people lived in luxury. "They cannot even take care of their own kind," observed a slug-like alien. "How can they help anyone else?" "We try to help everyone," Kim said. "We send aid to planets in trouble. We share our knowledge." "Your knowledge?" HFY's laugh was like breaking glass. "What can you teach us? We have faster ships, better weapons, perfect cities. We have no war, no crime, no waste." "But do you have heart?" Kim asked quietly. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the laughter came back even louder. "Heart?" repeated the tentacled alien. "What use is heart in the void of space? Logic guides us. Reason protects us. Emotion only leads to poor choices." HFY spread his arms wide. "Council members, I propose we do more than reject human membership. I say we ban them from all civilized sectors. They are too dangerous to be allowed near peaceful worlds." "Dangerous?" Kim asked. "We are explorers, not conquerors." "You are chaos makers," HFY replied. "Your emotions spread like disease. Already we see some of our young ones copying human behavior. They sing pointless songs. They show concern for strangers. This must stop. The voting began. Aliens pressed buttons on their seats. Green lights meant yes to the ban. Red lights meant no. Kim watched as more and more green lights appeared on the great board. "The vote is clear," Zixthai announced. "Humans are banned from council space. You have 1 cycle to remove all human presence from our territories." Kim nodded slowly. He looked around the chamber at all the pleased alien faces. "Before I go, may I show you one more piece of footage?" "More human weakness?" Zixthai asked. "Very well. Let us see your final failure." Kim connected his device to the chamber's systems. "This happened 3 months ago on Haven 7 Colony. It shows what humans really are." "Make it quick," Zixthai said. "We have important matters to discuss once you are gone." Kim pressed a button. The screens went dark for a moment. Then new images began to play. The aliens settled back to enjoy one last chance to mock humanity. They had no idea what they were about to see. 3 months earlier, the planet Haven 7 glowed like a green jewel against the black of space. The colony sat in a valley between 2 mountain ranges. White buildings dotted the landscape like scattered pearls. Gardens grew between the structures, filled with plants from a dozen different worlds. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the main research station. Her lab coat was stained with soil from her morning work. She carried a tablet showing readings from the soil samples she had collected. The numbers looked normal, but something felt wrong. "Good morning, Dr. Chen," called Veltar, her research partner. The tall alien had blue-green skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on his face. His people came from a water world far from here. "Morning, Vel," Sarah replied. She still smiled when she saw him, even after working together for 2 years. His kindness reminded her why she loved this job. The research station buzzed with activity. Scientists from 6 different species worked side by side. They studied the planet's plants and animals. They tested the soil and water. They made sure the colony stayed healthy and safe. Crixinal floated past in her environmental suit. Her people needed different air to breathe. She waved with one of her 4 arms. "The children are coming for their lesson today," she said through her translator device. Sarah nodded. Every few days, young aliens from the colony visited the station. They wanted to learn about science and research. Sarah always enjoyed teaching them. Their excitement reminded her why discovery mattered. Outside the window, she could see some of the children already arriving. They came from different species but played together like any group of kids. Kellanir, a small creature with soft gray fur and large dark eyes, ran ahead of the others. Her species was new to space travel, and everything still amazed her. "Dr. Chen, look at these readings," called Marcus Webb from across the lab. The young human geologist frowned at his computer screen. "I'm getting some weird seismic activity." Sarah walked over to see. The lines on his screen showed small tremors deep underground. "How deep?" she asked. "Very deep. Maybe 3 kilometers down. But the pattern is strange. It's not like normal earthquakes." Sarah studied the data. Marcus was right. Normal earthquakes had random patterns. These tremors seemed to follow straight lines underground, like something was moving down there. "Could be mining operations in the next sector," suggested Veltar. "The Zorvac Corporation has permits to dig for rare metals." "This deep?" Marcus shook his head. "And look at the spacing. These tremors are too regular." Dr. Yithmaran entered the lab. The insect-like alien was the station's senior researcher. Her crystal wings clicked together when she was concerned, and they were clicking now. "Have you seen the animal behavior reports?" she asked. "The local wildlife is acting strange." Sarah pulled up the wildlife monitoring data on her tablet. Camera feeds showed empty forests where animals should be active. The few creatures they could see moved quickly, like they were running from something. They're leaving the area, Sarah observed. But why? Animals can sense things we cannot, Veltar said. On my homeworld, the deep swimmers always flee before underwater earthquakes. Kalanir and the other children pressed their faces against the lab windows. Their breath fogged the glass as they tried to see the scientific equipment inside. Sarah waved at them and smiled. "Should we cancel the children's visit?" asked Crixnall. "The readings aren't dangerous yet," Dr. Yithmoran decided. "But we should monitor them closely." The morning lesson went well. Sarah showed the children how to use microscopes to look at tiny creatures in pond water. Kalanir gasped with delight when she saw a single-celled organism swimming around. "It's so small, but so alive," the young alien whispered. "All life is connected," Sarah told her. "The smallest creatures help the largest ones survive." After the children left, the research team gathered for lunch in the station's cafeteria. They shared food from their different worlds. Sarah enjoyed trying new tastes, even when some dishes made her eyes water. "The tremors are getting stronger," Marcus reported between bites of his sandwich. "And more frequent." "I contacted the mining company," Dr. Yithmoran said. "They are not operating in our area. In fact, they stopped all deep drilling 3 days ago." That news made everyone quiet. If mining was not causing the tremors, what was? "We should inform colony administration," Veltar suggested. "With what?" Sarah asked. "We have strange readings and nervous animals. That's not enough for an evacuation alert." The afternoon brought more concerning data. Underground scans showed large empty spaces deep below the colony. Spaces that had not been there in earlier surveys. "It's like something is digging tunnels," Marcus said. "But the size... Some of these caverns are huge." Sarah stared at the scan data. The empty spaces formed a network under the entire colony. Whatever was making them was big and had been busy. "We need more information before we alert anyone," Dr. Yithmoran decided. "But keep monitoring everything." As evening fell, Sarah walked outside to clear her head. The colony looked peaceful in the soft light of Haven 7's 2 moons. Families from different species sat on their porches. Children played in the gardens. Everything seemed normal and safe. But underground, something was moving. Sarah's communicator beeped. She looked at the message and felt her heart skip. The seismic monitors were showing massive activity 3 kilometers down. The tremors were spreading across the entire network of tunnels. She ran back toward the research station. Behind her, other people were getting the same alerts on their devices. Concerned voices filled the evening air. "Dr. Chen," Veltar called as she entered the building. "You need to see this." The main screen showed the underground scan in real time. The tunnel network was collapsing in some areas and expanding in others. Something very large was moving through those deep spaces. "How large?" Sarah asked. Marcus checked his calculations twice. "Based on the tunnel sizes, maybe 50 meters long, and there's not just one of them." The screen showed movement signatures throughout the underground network. Dozens of large forms were active below the colony. Dr. Yithmoran activated the emergency communication system. "Colony Administration, this is Research Station 7. We have significant underground activity of unknown origin. Recommend immediate investigation." The reply came quickly. "Station 7, this is Administrator Kelthros. We are aware of the situation. Emergency protocols are being considered." Sarah looked at the scan data again. The movement was getting closer to the surface. In some areas, the creatures were only 1 kilometer down. Then the emergency alarms began to sound across the entire colony. The ground shook like an angry giant was stomping below. Sarah Chen grabbed her desk as equipment fell from shelves around the research station. Through the windows, she could see colonists running from their homes. "What's happening?" Crixnall shouted over the noise of falling objects. Before anyone could answer, the earth cracked open near the colony's main square. Steam and dust shot up like a geyser. Then something huge and dark pushed through the hole. The creature was bigger than any animal Sarah had ever seen. Its body stretched 50 meters from head to tail. Black scales covered its hide like armor plates. 6 legs ended in claws that could tear through metal. Worst of all were its 3 heads, each with jaws full of teeth like broken glass. "Subterranean apex predator," Dr. Yithmaran whispered. "The deep scans were wrong. These are not just large animals. They are perfect killing machines." More cracks appeared across the colony. More creatures emerged. They moved fast despite their size, crushing buildings under their massive feet. Their roars shook the air like thunder. The colony's defense systems activated. Automated turrets rose from hidden positions and fired energy beams at the creatures. The beams hit their targets but barely left marks on those black scales. "All colonists report to evacuation centers immediately," announced Administrator Kelthros over the emergency speakers. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Sarah watched families running through the streets. Parents carried small children. Elderly beings moved as fast as they could. The organized evacuation procedures that all species learned were working. Almost everyone moved toward the designated safe zones in an orderly way. Then Sarah saw something that made her blood freeze. Near the education center, a building had partially collapsed. Part of the roof had fallen in, blocking the main exits. She could see small faces pressed against the windows. The children from their morning science lesson were trapped inside. "The education center," she told the others. "Kids are stuck in there." Veltar activated his communicator. "Emergency services, this is Research Station 7. Children are trapped in Education Center 3. Request immediate rescue." The reply came back full of static and stress. "Station 7, all emergency teams are engaged. The creatures are too dangerous. We cannot reach that sector." Through the window, Sarah watched a rescue team try to approach the education center. One of the massive creatures spotted them and charged. The team scattered, barely escaping as claws tore through the ground where they had been standing. "The logical choice is evacuation," Dr. Yithmaran said. Her voice was calm but sad. "We cannot risk more lives for a few individuals." "Those are children," Sarah said. "We can't just leave them." "The probability of successful rescue is less than 10%, Veltar calculated. "The creatures are too aggressive and too strong." Sarah looked at Marcus. The young geologist was staring at the trapped children with pain in his eyes. She knew he was thinking the same thing she was. "The administration is right," Crixenol said. "We should evacuate with the others. There is nothing we can do." Sarah picked up an emergency kit from the supply closet. She checked that it had medical supplies and cutting tools. "I'm going to get those kids." "Sarah, no," Veltar said. "It's suicide." "Maybe, but I can't live knowing I didn't try." Marcus grabbed another emergency kit. "I'm going with her." "This is not logical," Dr. Yithmaran protested. "You are valuable researchers. The colony needs your knowledge to survive." "The colony needs to know that some lives matter more than knowledge," Sarah replied. She looked at her alien colleagues. They were good people who cared about others. But their species had learned to make choices based on logic and probability. They could not understand the human need to try the impossible when someone needed help. "Please reconsider," Veltar begged. "Wait for proper rescue equipment." Sarah checked her communicator. The emergency channels were full of reports about more creatures emerging. The situation was getting worse, not better. Those children did not have time to wait. "If we don't come back, tell everyone we tried," she said. Sarah and Marcus left the research station and ran toward the education center. The streets were chaos. Colonists streamed past them, heading for the evacuation points. Behind them, the massive creatures destroyed everything in their path. They had to hide twice when creatures came close. The beasts seemed to hunt by movement and vibration. Sarah and Marcus stayed perfectly still until the danger passed. The education center was worse up close. The main entrance was completely blocked by fallen debris. Windows on the first floor were too small for adults to fit through. But Sarah could see the children huddled inside, scared and crying. "Back entrance," Marcus suggested. They ran around the building. The back door was damaged but not completely blocked. Marcus used a crowbar from his kit to clear away enough rubble for them to squeeze through. Inside, they found 15 children from 6 different species. Kellanir ran to Sarah and hugged her legs. The little alien was shaking with fear. "Dr. Chen, we're so scared," Kellanir whispered. "It's going to be okay," Sarah said, even though she was not sure that was true. "We're going to get you out of here." Marcus examined the blocked exits. "Main door is completely sealed. We might be able to clear the debris, but it would take hours." Through the windows, they could hear more roars and the sound of breaking buildings. The creatures were getting closer. Sarah's communicator crackled. "Sarah, this is Veltar. A military unit has arrived at the colony. They say the situation is hopeless. Full evacuation is ordered." "What about the children?" Sarah asked. Long pause. "They cannot reach your position. The creatures control that entire sector. I'm sorry." Sarah looked at the scared faces around her. These children trusted her to keep them safe. Their parents thought they were already in the evacuation centers. "Then we'll have to find another way out," she told Marcus. "Sarah." Veltar's voice came through the communicator again. "Captain Morrison's Marine unit is here. He says anyone still in the danger zone in 30 minutes will be considered lost." Sarah turned off her communicator. She would not let these children become acceptable losses in someone else's logical calculation. Outside, the roars were getting louder. Through the window, Sarah saw a massive shadow moving between the buildings. One of the creatures was coming their way. The creature's footsteps shook the education center like earthquake tremors. Sarah gathered the children into the center of the main classroom, away from the windows. 15 pairs of eyes from 6 different species looked at her with complete trust. "We're going to play a quiet game," Sarah whispered. "Everyone needs to be as still as mice." Kellanir nodded and helped translate for the younger children who did not speak standard language well. Even in their terror, the kids tried to follow instructions. Marcus worked on clearing debris from a side window that might be big enough for the children to escape through. He moved carefully to avoid making noise that might attract the creature outside. "Dr. Chen," whispered a small blue child with tentacle arms, "are the monsters going to eat us?" "No, sweetie," Sarah said softly. "We won't let that happen." Through the main window, Sarah saw the massive creature investigating the collapsed buildings nearby. Its 3 heads moved independently, sniffing for signs of life. When it found nothing interesting, it would move on. She hoped. Sarah's communicator buzzed with a quiet message from Marcus. He had cleared enough space at the side window for the children to fit through. But there was a problem. The window faced an alley between buildings, and that alley led directly toward where more creatures were active. "We need a distraction," Marcus whispered. "Something to draw them away from the escape route." Sarah thought quickly. The emergency kit had flares and noisemakers for signaling rescue teams. If they could create a distraction on the opposite side of the building, the children might be able to escape through the alley. "I'll go around and make noise," Sarah said. "When the creatures chase me, get the kids out." "That's suicide," Marcus replied. "Those things are too fast. Maybe I can hide, find somewhere they can't reach." Sarah, "No. We stick together." Before they could argue more, they heard human voices outside. Marine units had arrived in the area. Sarah looked through the window and saw soldiers in combat armor moving between buildings. They carried heavy weapons and moved with military precision. Captain Rex Morrison's voice came through external speakers. "This is Captain Morrison. Any survivors in this sector have 5 minutes to reach the evacuation route. After that, we're pulling back." Sarah activated her communicator. "Captain Morrison, this is Dr. Chen at Education Center 3. I have 15 children trapped inside. Dr. Chen, we cannot reach your position. 3 creatures are blocking all approach routes. You need to evacuate immediately. The children can't get out safely. We need help." Long pause. "Ma'am, I have my orders. This sector is being written off. I'm sorry." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest. These military leaders with their logical decisions and acceptable losses. They were abandoning children because the mathematics did not work out. "Captain, these are kids. Innocent kids." "I understand, ma'am. But I won't sacrifice my whole unit for a failed rescue. You have 5 minutes. The communicator went silent. Marcus had been listening. "Maybe we can make it," he said. "If we move fast and stay quiet." Sarah looked at the children. Some were very small. Others were from species that moved slowly. They would never outrun those creatures in open ground. "New plan," she said. "We're not running." "What do you mean?" "We're making our stand here. If those things want these children, they'll have to go through us first." Marcus stared at her. "Sarah, we don't have weapons. We can't fight those creatures." "Then we'll find another way." Sarah began moving furniture to barricade the doors and windows. Marcus joined her, though she could see he thought they were going to die. The children watched with wide eyes but trusted her enough not to panic. Outside, the Marine unit was pulling back. Captain Morrison's voice faded as his soldiers retreated to safer positions. Soon, Sarah and Marcus were alone with the children in creature-controlled territory. One of the massive beasts approached the education center. Its claws scraped against the outer walls as it investigated the building. Sarah held her breath and motioned for the children to stay completely still. The creature's middle head appeared at the main window. Its eyes were black and intelligent. It could smell them inside. It began tearing at the barricaded entrance with its claws. Sarah realized they had maybe minutes before the creature broke through. She looked around desperately for anything that could help. Fire suppression system, emergency lighting, communication equipment. Then she remembered something from her childhood. Her grandmother singing to her during thunderstorms to keep her calm. Music had power over fear. "Kids," she whispered, "do you know any songs?" Kellanir nodded. "My mother sings me sleep songs." "Good. Everyone who knows songs starts singing, quietly at first, then louder." Marcus looked at her like she had lost her mind. "Sarah, what are you doing?" "Fighting back the only way we know how." The children began to sing softly. Different songs in different languages from different worlds. The melodies blended together into something strange but beautiful. As they sang, their fear seemed to lessen. The creature at the window paused, its heads tilted, listening to the music. Sarah had read that many predators were confused by sounds they did not recognize as either threat or prey. "Keep singing," Sarah encouraged the children. "Louder now." Their voices grew stronger. Even the youngest children joined in, humming melodies they remembered. Sarah began singing too, an old Earth song about hope and courage. Marcus finally understood. He added his voice to theirs. Together, humans and young aliens sang in defiance of the monsters outside. The creature at the window backed away, confused. It roared in frustration but did not attack immediately. More creatures approached, drawn by the sounds. But instead of breaking down the barriers, they seemed uncertain. The music was something they had never encountered before. Sarah's communicator crackled with Captain Morrison's voice. "Dr. Chen, what's that sound? My sensors are picking up some kind of acoustic emission from your position." "We're singing, Captain." "You're what?" "Singing. It's confusing the creatures. They don't know how to respond to music." Sarah could hear urgent discussions in the background of Morrison's transmission. Then his voice came back, different now, more respectful. Dr. Chen, my unit is moving back toward your position. Keep doing whatever you're doing. The children sang louder, sensing that something had changed. Their voices carried through the broken buildings of the colony like a beacon of hope in the darkness. And somehow, impossibly, the monsters began to back away. The footage ended. The great council chamber sat in complete silence. Ambassador Kim Min-jun stood alone at the center, his device now dark. Around him, hundreds of alien beings stared at empty screens, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Speaker Zixthai was the first to find his voice. The children, did they survive? All 15 were rescued safely, Kim replied quietly. Dr. Chen and Marcus Webb died holding the entrance while Captain Morrison's Marines evacuated the kids through the window they had cleared. They died singing, whispered the blue alien who had earlier mocked human emotions. To keep the children calm. Yes, Kim said. They sang until the end, even when the creatures finally broke through. A small figure rose from the observer section. It was Kellanir, now grown to adulthood. Her gray fur had darkened with age, but her large eyes still held the same gentle intelligence they had as a child. Honored council members, Kellanir said in a clear voice. I was one of those children. The chamber stirred. This was unexpected. I remember that day, Kellanir continued. I remember being so scared I could not breathe. But when Dr. Chen started us singing, the fear went away. She made us feel safe even when we were surrounded by monsters. Speaker Zixthai leaned forward in his high seat. You are here to testify? I am here to speak truth, Kellanir replied. The footage you saw does not show everything. After Dr. Chen and Mr. Webb died, I thought the singing would stop. But Captain Morrison's Marines continued it. The soldiers sang? Asked the tentacled alien. They sang our songs, Kellanir said. Songs they had just learned from listening to us. Human soldiers trained for war, singing alien lullabies while they carried frightened children to safety. More figures rose from the observer section. Other survivors from Haven 7. Adults now from 6 different species, but all united by the memory of that day. My daughter was in that building, said a tall, insect-like being. She still sings the Earth song Dr. Chen taught her, the one about hope. My son was there too, added a creature that looked like living crystal. He became a teacher because Dr. Chen showed him that protecting the young matters more than protecting yourself. Speaker Zixthai looked around the chamber. His fellow council members sat in stunned silence. Many had their heads bowed. Others stared at their hands. But surely, Zixthai said weakly, this was one incident. One moment of unexpected behavior. Kim activated his device again. There have been 47 similar incidents in the last 5 years, humans risking or sacrificing their lives to protect non-humans they barely knew. New images played on the screens. A human merchant ship ramming a pirate vessel to protect a refugee convoy. Human doctors staying behind on a plague world to treat sick aliens while their own people evacuated. Human engineers working to repair life support on a damaged station while sections collapsed around them. We call this the human pattern, Kim said. When others would calculate risk and retreat, humans calculate need and advance. When logic says to save yourself, humans choose to save others. Dr. Yithmoran stood up from the observer section. The insect researcher's crystal wings clicked nervously. I worked with Dr. Chen for 2 years, she said. I thought her emotional responses were inefficient. I was wrong. Her emotions made her see value where we saw only probability. Veltar rose next to her. The blue-green alien's 3 eyes were wet with tears. Sarah could have evacuated with us, he said. We begged her to leave, but she asked us a question that still haunts me. How do we face ourselves if we don't try? Ambassador Kim looked up at Speaker Zixtai. That is what humans offer the galaxy. Not better technology or superior logic. We offer the willingness to try when trying seems impossible. We offer hope when hope seems foolish. But their emotions, protested the floating alien. Their irrationality. Our emotions are exactly what make us rational, Kim replied. They help us see that some things matter more than survival. Some things are worth dying for. Kalanir stepped forward again. Honored Council, you voted to ban humans because you think they are dangerous. You are right. They are dangerous to anyone who threatens the innocent. The chamber buzzed with quiet conversations as aliens discussed what they had heard. Speaker Zixtai raised his hand for silence. These testimonies are unexpected, he admitted. But can the council base policy on emotion rather than logic? You already have, Kim said. Every law you have passed about protecting the weak, helping refugees, or preserving peace, those came from emotional choices about right and wrong. You just call it logic to feel better about caring. An old alien with silver scales slowly stood up. She was ancient, one of the original founders of the council. Young human, she said in a voice like wind through leaves, your people sing to frighten children while monsters approach. This is not the behavior of a warlike species. No, Elder Sithara, Kim agreed. It is the behavior of a species that believes every child deserves protection, no matter what species they come from. Elder Sithara looked around the chamber. I call for a new vote, not on membership, but on designation. Speaker Zixtai's scales flushed darker. What designation? Protectors of the innocent, the elder said clearly. Let it be written in galactic law that humans are called first when children are in danger, when the helpless need defenders. When someone must stand between the darkness and the light. The voting began again. This time, the lights on the great board turned green much faster. Species after species voted to grant humans this new status. When the count finished, Speaker Zixtai stared at the board in amazement. The vote is unanimous. Humans are designated as protectors of the innocent. Kim bowed deeply. We accept this honor and this responsibility. There is more, Elder Sithara continued. Any species that calls for human protection will receive it, regardless of political status or previous conflicts. And any attack on human protectors will be considered an attack on the council itself. As Kim left the chamber, his communicator buzzed with an urgent message. 3 systems away, a mining accident had trapped workers on an asteroid. The local government was calling for human rescue teams. Kim smiled and sent a reply. Help is on the way. Outside the council station, human ships were already changing course toward the new emergency. It was what they did. It was what they had always done. And now the galaxy recognized it officially. Humanity had found its place among the stars.